and we are from Club Sapphire.
Absolutely.
And it is a relaxing Wednesday evening here, which is kind of nice. It's a little quieter here. We figured we'd kind of record in the back corner. You might be able to hear music in the background, which is people kind of getting ready for the party as it starts. So this is a perfect time for us to record this thing. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. You ready for a party?
Absolutely. I'm
All right.
always ready for a party.
Perfect. You gonna do some pole dancing?
I usually do.
You-
Although I was just talking to someone that this top is dangerous. If I do any pole stuff, my pecs will pull up and the shirt will come down. So
That's kind of awesome. So
that wouldn't be the first time that's happened to me. I remember when I was doing something on the pole. I wasn't prepared for it. I was competing for the Miss No Swimsuit contest, Miss Sapphire, and I did a spin on the pole, and my top came off, and I started to pull it up, and I was like, we're all friends here.
That's right. You have better odds of people clapping the more your boobs fall out.
I danced for each judge, and I apologized for my wardrobe malfunction to each and every judge that I danced for.
Yeah, there's been many Saturdays that you've been here, and there's been like a crowd watching you dance, and you'll flip upside down, and you're just kind of doing the upside down thing, and a boob or two will come out.
Well, I do usually try to plan my outfit on them not falling out. Just because then when I dance, I don't have to think about that.
That's good to do. That's
Yeah.
good to do. Well, today we wanted to talk about rules.
Right.
Last time we kind of went over starting out and having that conversation with your spouse or significant other about getting into the swinging world. Well, we figured the next step above that would be, okay, you're getting a little comfortable. You might want to start playing with people. What's next? And that would be rules.
Right.
So rules are something that every couple has some sort of rules set up. They're
You
something.
may not even realize they're your rules. That's just what you've talked about, what your comfort level would be.
Exactly.
that is.
And we had rules since day one. Boy, and they've changed over the years.
Well, and they do. They evolve with your evolving hobby.
Exactly. Like when we first started, it was condoms, and it was don't take one for the team.
Right.
Which if you haven't heard that one, that's kind of the concept of when you have four people, that everybody has to kind of be attracted to each other.
Right.
If sometimes the couples might be uneven as far as whether you're attracted to them or what they look like or whatever it might be, or the personality, and you might be absolutely attracted to the guy. Oh my God, the guy, I just want to have sex with him. And I'm just like, the wife, we're not hitting it off, or I'm not particularly attracted to her. And early on, when we were so excited about just people wanting to have sex with us, that type of thing happened a lot, where one of us would kind of take one for the team. I remember, early on, I'm like the second or third people that we played with. It was exactly this scenario where it was just like I wasn't particularly interested, but I was excited that someone wanted to have sex with me. So I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. And it just.
I think if you change, if you're with that rule, if you decide that you're going to take one for the team, you are deciding that, and it's on you. If you have that as your rule, we're not going to take one for the team, and let's say, for example, if you were, let's say I was not interested in the guy, and you were interested in the wife, and I was like, pulled you aside and was like, no, and you were like, please, 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 and there was some sort of like, come on, and then you take one from the team. That's a different story than if, like you said, you took one for the team. You made that conscious decision to take one for the team. There was no discussion. It was, hey, if you want to go back, let's go back. Because you could tell I was really attracted to him.
Right.
So it was like, I don't necessarily... Now, had I stopped and thought about it, I probably could have been like, he can't be, like, there's no connection through them. Like, why is he... But I didn't question it. I was just like, he said, let's go, so we went. So there's a difference, I think, in taking one for the team that you initiate yourself.
Right.
That's not necessarily breaking your rule. that you can't. My point is I don't feel like it's fair if you were to come back and hold that against me, and not that you have, but that if you were like, oh, she made me take one for the team this one time, and you like every time were like, remember that one time you made me take one for the team? That wasn't on me. That was on you. Mm-hmm. You took one for the team because you were okay with whatever the situation was. You were good enough with it. It's not like you were forced into it or coerced into it.
Exactly. And I don't think there should ever be that situation like you had mentioned where one of us is going, oh, please, can we go in the back? I really, really like her, and just kind of pushing the other one that way.
Well, it hasn't happened with us. I'm sure it could happen with other people.
Oh, absolutely.
That's why you need to discuss everything beforehand, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. And we've said this for many years, like from the beginning, that I think myself more than you, I'm not comfortable with changing rules at a party or at an event. There have been many times where another one of our rules is, in the beginning, was don't leave one man behind. So if there's one person that I wanted to play with, but they didn't have a partner and we weren't interested in a threesome, then sorry, there are other swingers in the party. That we wouldn't do that because we weren't comfortable leaving one of us just standing there not having anybody to talk to while the other person was in the back getting their fuck on.
Right.
So, but there have been parties where you were like, I remember the first time it happened where you were like, you can go in the back with him. And I was like, no. Like, I totally missed out on the opportunity, first off, because I'm bad at initiating. And then, but second of all, and someone else got to him before I could, but also I was really extremely uncomfortable with changing the rules without a long-ass discussion, because I have to discuss everything and over and over, and so I wasn't comfortable with changing something up in the middle of a party. And then mostly because I didn't want to deal with any issues that could come up afterwards because of that. So if you were to decide, I can't believe she went and did that, or whatever hurt feelings you may have had, I didn't want to deal with that later. So I chose to just say no, and we don't leave anyone behind, and then we can discuss it at a later time.
Right.
And that's how I chose to take that situation.
Exactly. And in conversations outside of the swinger world, oftentimes spouses, you and I will have that argument where we're arguing and then you'll just go, fine, it's fine, where it's like, not fine.
Right.
But in that situation, if that type of thing happened where you were like, let's go into the back with them, and you're like, yeah, fine, but inside you were actually kind of upset about that thing, that's going to come back and bite you in the butt.
Right.
There's no question about that. So it's important that you don't play those games.
Well, not only that you don't play games, but also that you don't pull shit like that in the middle of a party. You have to be honest with everything, but if you're changing a rule in the middle of a party, your spouse may not be comfortable with the confrontation.
Right.
I may not want to change this rule, but I don't want to make a scene and have a fight in front of everybody.
Sure.
So I will say, okay, but then later I'm going to be upset. And I mean, everybody's personality is different. Me personally, I'd probably just eventually let it go.
Right.
Because that's just how I am. But someone else, who knows how your spouse is going to react. So you need to know how they're going to react and decide, is it really worth it, the possible fight or whatever that can happen afterwards.
Exactly. What other rules have we had? Early on we had same room only. Yeah, which of course that was one of those things that evolved over years, and now that's like kind of the opposite almost.
Right.
Where we're practically separate room only. That's not quite the case, but that seems to come up probably more often than not. And that's one of those great things actually that when we first started making videos 5-6 years ago on YouTube, there's one that actually us talking about our rules back in 2012, I think it was, and it kind of labels these different things, and over time, just as you get more comfortable and you start to play and you start to meet different types of people that are into different things, you start to push the envelope. Boundaries. You exactly push the boundaries of what you might be interested in. And now, boundaries are different than rules. You want to describe the difference?
Well, rules, I feel, are things that are kind of set in stone. Rules are something that you shouldn't change on the fly. Like we said, in the middle of a party, don't try and change your rules. Rules are something that you need to have a longer discussion about. Hey, honey, I don't want to have same room sex anymore. Well, that is something that needs to have a discussion. Mm-hmm. That is something that shouldn't happen in the middle of a party. Whereas boundaries, to me, what boundaries are like things that you want to experience and push the envelope, and things that you don't necessarily need to ask permission from your spouse for. Like, I experience a little bit of BDSM with other people.
Right.
I don't feel like I need to ask you, can so-and-so
spank my ass.
Spank me, or can so-and-so use his brushes and wheels and stuff on me? Like, I don't need to ask permission for that.
Well, I guess it would if it was like something extreme. Hey, he wants to tie me up and beat me and set you on fire. And
really? I'd have to ask permission for that? Well, see, now, honestly, I don't agree with that.
What?
You're never going to tie me up and set me on fire.
That's true. That's true.
So if that is something I want, why do I have to ask your permission for it?
Okay. Well, although that's probably an extreme.
That's my boundary. It's not necessarily about our rules.
Uh-huh. And I guess, well, I
don't want to be set on fire, by the way.
If I were comfortable with who you're playing with, absolutely. I mean, if it was something that was an extreme situation, I
don't know. I don't know that I agree with you.
Well, for example, a good friend of mine likes impact play, and she likes to, actually have bruises. And she has a rule of nothing above the neck, because she doesn't want people to see when she's at work the next day, that type of thing. But she doesn't mind bruises all over the rest of her body. And someone that she was with got a little out of hand, but she was perfectly okay with that, and she ended up with a black eye in the situation of what they were doing, and she was okay with that at the time, although she had to wear a lot of makeup the next day. But that's a situation where if it were you and I knew that it was someone who might be able to kind of go a little above that line of comfort, then that could be a boundary that I might have an issue with, where I could say, hey, I don't mind you.
But then we have, like, the way our relationship works, we have a discussion, and I tell you my feelings and my thoughts, and I make you understand. Not that I'm trying to coerce you into anything, but you may say you're uncomfortable with one thing, and then I say, well, look at it from my point of view, and then you're fine with it.
Okay.
So if I say, look at it from my point of view, it's my dream to be set on fire and tied up, and you're not willing to do it, so I'm going to find someone who will do it. You might say, okay, I understand. Okay, go for it.
Sure. No, that makes sense. And, rules and boundaries are definitely very different that way, because, I mean, I get, since you and I do play separately with other people, I mean, there are things that come up when I'm having sex with someone else that I guess I wouldn't feel like I need to ask your permission for.
Right.
For example, there's this one woman that I play with a lot who loves to be fisted, which apparently that's not your thing.
Oh no, not my thing.
You like being set on fire, apparently, but fisting, don't fist her. That's fine. Don't stick your whole hand up there.
No, not your whole hand.
Not, and of course, obviously, that's not being done to me. But I don't feel. No, I don't feel that's something that I would.
It's a boundary you want to be pushed, right?
Boundary I want to be pushed. Do I want to be fisted? No. Yeah, no, I don't have interest in that. But if I did, that would be something that would be kind of on me.
Yeah, but would you feel like? See, I think there are double standards though. Would you feel like you need to come to me and be like, "Hey, B, I want to get fisted," and wait for me to be like, "Find someone else," or would you just go and do it?
Oh, should I ask you first?
You would just go and do it. You wouldn't talk to me first.
Well, it depends.
There are double standards.
It depends on if it was something that I definitely wanted to try, that I thought maybe you might have interest in. But
if you knew that I had no interest in sticking a fist up your ass,
right? Yeah.
You would just go out and find it. So why would it not be okay for me to go find someone to set me on fire?
Well, if you
again, I don't want to be set on fire.
It's not a double standard if it's not a double standard if you say that I can, that you don't have a problem with it. if you say, "Oh, Matt, do whatever," you know, if you said, "Matt, I really don't want you fisted," I can't believe we're having this conversation.
I think we've kind of veered off the subject a little bit.
If you said, "Matt, I really don't want you fisted by anybody," then that would be a rule. Okay.
There you go.
That would be a rule that I am not to break.
Boundary turns into a rule.
Exactly. But I can't imagine I can't imagine a situation where there would be something more than like what I brought up with you, where I didn't feel necessarily comfortable with the guy that you might be playing with, that he might go too far, because obviously when it comes down to everything, I care about you and want to make sure that you're not hurt.
That's the relationship that we have. Someone else's relationship might be different, which again, it goes back to communication.
Right.
Talking about it constantly, always. Being honest with your partner about what your boundaries are, what you do want to be pushed, what your limits are. For example, when I first met my boyfriend, he wanted to explore a little bit of BDSM, and so he bought me a book. He sent me questionnaires of what are you into. I felt like it was a job interview. He wanted to know my limits, my interests, my desires, everything, because he didn't want to push too far. Right. And he didn't want to not push hard enough. So you have to be completely honest. And that doesn't even, even if you're not interested in any BDSM, it just within the lifestyle, what are you interested in? Tell your partner what your dreams are, what kind of experiences you want to have, because they can help make it happen if you let them. So talking all the time to your partner about what you want and what you're comfortable with. When you first get into lifestyle, most people have all these rules and this much that they'll do, you know? And not everybody, but everybody is so different. So it's so important to talk to your partner constantly about what you want. And every single time you have sex with a different person, your list of needs, wants, and desires can change. Right. So you need to update your partner and let them know what has changed and what you really want.
Should you talk about these little things beforehand? For example, I think it was on one of these videos just a couple of videos ago. We were talking. Oh yeah, the one that we were recording in the room. We're at Club Sapphire, and we were at in the Black Pearl room, the BDSM room, and you were talking about how one time someone put a ball gag in you, and I had never even heard this before, and. Just smile on your face, yeah.
I had fun.
You had fun. But I didn't even know about this at all. And so, although I was comfortable with it, what if I wasn't comfortable with it? My question is, in situations like that, should we go over everything that possibly could happen beforehand, or is it better to ask for forgiveness and permission?
No, it is not better to ask for forgiveness and permission. It is better to ask for permission.
Okay.
However, that was a boundary of, that was totally different in that was specifically with my boyfriend that I've been with for 2 years, and you knew that.
Yeah.
And obviously, if I've been with him for 2 years, we're both comfortable with him. We know he's not going to set me on fire. I beg him to, which I won't. And I know that I'm safe. Right. That I don't feel like that is a boundary that I need to discuss with you. Do I need to discuss? I want to do this position and this position and this position. No, I don't need to discuss that. You're not into certain things that I may be into or that I'm starting to explore. So I will explore those with him, and our relationship is fine with that. I'm not going to. And honestly, I didn't know it was going to happen that night. It wasn't pre-planned. But it was
you should have texted me, hey, Matt, he has a ball gag.
Because we have that relationship where we are a separate room, we are separate relationships. Ours is different because I'm not in the same room. I'm sorry, I'm not. Okay, so-and-so is about to gag me and tie me up to a fucking post and do all this other crazy shit. And, oh, by the way, he's going to set me on fire.
So...
Is that okay? No, that just, ruins the mood. Are you going to text me when you do that? No, you're not.
So
it's different.
So are you saying in those situations, it's up to me to think of every possible thing that might go too far if you were with someone else.
I think there are certain things that are little things that are fine to ask forgiveness. Like, okay, I'm sorry he put a ball gag in my mouth. Will you ever forgive me? But there are other things that are bigger deals. If I say over and over, I really don't want you to get fisted. I really do not want someone to stick their hand in your ass.
Okay.
And then you go and do it, that's breaking it. That's not okay. That's breaking that trust that we have. And that you don't know how your partner is going to respond to that, and if they're going to be okay with continuing in the lifestyle or continuing with the relationship. You don't know how they're going to respond to that. So why do that in the first place?
Okay.
If it's so important to you to get that fist in your ass, why not ask permission first? Why not have that discussion? And I hate to say this, but try to, I don't want to say convince your partner that you need it, but make them understand why it's so important to you to have that fist in your ass. Why do they need to have this? How is it going to help your sexual journey? How is it going to help your life? If they truly love you and understand, and maybe they'll understand and be okay with this eventually, but there are certain bigger things like that. If you say that this is what I'm not comfortable with and you go and do that, that's breaking a rule in my opinion.
Okay.
But if it's, hey, I had a ball gag in my mouth, that's not, that's a boundary that I pushed that wasn't a big deal. If you specifically said, I never want you to have ball gag in your mouth, ever, 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 and I do it, then I'm breaking a rule and I'm risking losing your trust.
Okay.
And that's not okay.
So if we, again, in this hypothetical situation, we have never talked about you putting a ball gag in your mouth. It just never came up.
Well,
okay?
we've used ball gags before.
This is a hypothetical situation.
We totally forgot about that too, by the way, until just recently.
You're gonna make me forget my question.
Oh,
okay,
sorry.
so if we had never talked about putting a ball gag in your mouth in this situation, and then you went and did that, and told me about it, even though it might be something that was outside of my realm of comfort, because we didn't talk about it, I should not get mad at you. I might at this point I might be like, look, I don't feel comfortable with this anymore. Please don't do that again.
Sure.
But because we never talked about it, because that type of thing does happen a lot. Not necessarily with the ball gag situation, but they didn't set their rules or their rules specifically.
If there is no rules set for that thing, then you can't get mad at that person for pushing that boundary. If there is no rule set for it. If there has been a rule set and you break it, that's something else. But if we never talked about ball gags, and then I happen to say, oh, my boyfriend put a ball gag in my mouth, oh my gosh, and you were like, no, don't, I'm not okay with that. Like, no, you must always be able to scream and yell and moan.
Right. Yeah.
then it's on me to tell him the next time, okay, no more ball gags, and it's on him to be like, okay, I get to fuck you still, so all right.
Okay.
So yeah, but again, what does that come back to? Communication. Like, you have to talk about everything.
Right.
And honestly, we don't talk about everything.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, we talk about most things, but we don't know. We both have separate relationships, and I don't know what goes on behind your closed doors. You don't really know what goes behind closed doors. In fact, a lot of what goes behind our closed doors, he finds out here.
That's right.
And I'm like, oh yeah, the other day I had a ball gag in my mouth. He's like, what?
Yeah. That's exactly
so
right.
he doesn't know that. Like, we just don't talk about it. Not for any reason other than we just don't. It just
if it comes up in conversation.
If it comes up, but it's not like, oh my gosh, so what did you do this weekend? Did you hit her? Did you smack her? Did you put a ball gag in her? Did you catch her on fire? It doesn't happen.
Yeah. So well, we're kind of curious about what everyone else's rules are. So if you'd like, right below us in the YouTube comments, please post what your rules are. Are you same room? Are you soft swap, full swap? We just want to know.
Especially if you have something different that we may not have touched on or haven't heard of, or, maybe you have a rule like of no BDSM without me kind of thing, or
right.
whatever.
Sure. So, if you have any questions for us, feel free to email us at the address right down here on the bottom. Any questions that you might have or topics that you'd like us to talk about in the future. Of course, if you haven't been to Club Sapphire in a while, come check it out. The place,
come check it out.
every
Come
time.
say hi to us if you see us here too.
Absolutely. Every time we come in here, this place is different. They keep adding
It's
adding more
gorgeous.
couches and
Oh my
little
gosh.
areas, and they just put a
So
really
excited.
cool mural on the wall.
Yeah.
So you have to come take a look at that. This place is amazing. Of course, check out the Facebook group. Like them on Facebook, and then we have, of course, a secret Facebook group only for members of Sapphire, which is pretty awesome. There's conversations all day long, 7 days a week about lifestyle stuff on there. So it's
Aren't there
definitely worth it.
inappropriate pictures too?
No.
Like NSFW?
Those aren't allowed on Facebook. So
Not of me though.
not of you, not that you know
Because
of.
I'm a prude.
That's right. That's
Damn.
right. All right. Anything else you want to say?
No.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye guys.